Hey guys, welcome to our Game of the Year discussion. This time we're joined by Derek Bittner, Ash Paulson, and from GameXplain North, Tom Arnold, to discuss our personal picks for Game of the Year. So let's get started. Alright guys, so it's the end of the year, and apparently a lot of gaming websites do this whole Game of the Year thing around this time. And so I thought it would be fun if we got in on that too. Now, since we're a smaller site, it doesn't make sense to really do an overall Game of the Year. So instead, we're each going to give our top 3. So we're going to go around, everyone will give their top 3. But before we each give our personal pick for Game of the Year, I thought it'd be fun that we all try and guess what that person's Game of the Year is. So, I guess I'll go and start things off. So my top 3 in order of release date are Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Mario Kart 8, and Smash Bros. Wii U. So which game do you think of those 3 I chose for Game of the Year?
Gee, I wonder if it's Smash Bros. Wii U.
Oh, that's tough.
I'm actually going to guess Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze for you.
Oh, man.
I'd lean towards Mario Kart.
Oh, wow. So all different choices. You're all wrong. Actually,
Yes.
No, that's possible. So actually, Ash, you nailed it. Tropical Freeze is my Game of the Year.
Wow.
This is like the Smash Brothers clapping now.
So for me, I loved Smash Bros. Wii U. I had a lot of fun with Mario Kart 8. Tropical Freeze, though, that was one of the most inventive platformers I've played in years. I mean, because basically, I would say the most inventive platformer before that I played would be Donkey Kong Country Returns. So,
right.
And Tropical Freeze takes everything that game did and just builds upon it in so many ways. I was playing through it just a few weeks ago, and it reminded me of everything I loved about that game. Just the creative level design, how things are changing constantly. I still have not seen a platformer that had that dynamic, had levels that dynamic. They're just changing constantly. Every level there's something new to play with, basically. And as you're going throughout the game, there's just tons of different themes you explore. And I just loved everything about it. It had a great atmosphere, it had a great presentation. I just really liked everything about that game. It just played super well for me. So now I'm curious to see if any of you agree. So I guess next up we have Ash. What are your top 3?
Okay, so I'll go in order of release date as well. My top 3 for this year would be Shovel Knight, Theater Rhythm Curtain Call, and Super Smash Bros. For Wii U.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So I'm going to guess that I think Shovel Knight took it for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Shovel Knight.
Oh, I'll be the devil's advocate or whatever and say Smash Brothers for Wii U.
Okay. Well, Andre and Derek got it right. Shovel Knight was indeed. I don't think I've made it that much of a secret, though, to be honest. Yeah. Honestly, I mean, this is a year with so many great games, especially a ton of great Nintendo games. But Shovel Knight really just kind of came out of nowhere and just blew me away. And I mean, obviously, it's the kind of game that I'm going to like anyway because it's an 8-bit platformer. But Yacht Club Games really demonstrated that they weren't just out to make a Mega Man clone or a DuckTales clone or anything like that. They showed with Shovel Knight that they really understand the kind of what goes into making all those games that we used to love back in the day. Mm-hmm. And it not only nails that, but they also kind of implement a lot of their own ideas and really show they understand kind of the genesis of those kinds of games and what makes them so great. And so they really made a game that doesn't just kind of stand alongside all those great mascot platformers of the NES and Super NES, but it really kind of does its own thing and stands out. And I really think Shovel Knight, it almost feels like a game out of time. It feels like a game that would have been perfect on the NES. And I look at Shovel Knight, the actual character design, and I'm like, wow, he could easily have been a classic Nintendo character. He wouldn't even be that out of place in Smash Brothers, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So just everything about that game blew me away. The music, the visuals, the stages were so tightly designed. The controls were perfect. I'm just completely in love with Shovel Knight.
All right, yeah. So better than DuckTales for NES?
I would say so, actually. Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, I would say it is.
High praise.
Yeah.
Okay, well, next up we have Tom, and I'm going to take a wild guess that not only is Shovel Knight in your top 3, but that's my personal prediction for your Game of the Year as well.
Well, I have to hear his 3 first.
Yeah, let me say the 3 at least. Don't just ruin it. Okay, so in no particular order, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Mario Kart 8, and Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight be the third one. In no order.
Then I guess after what you guys said, I'm gonna have to guess Shovel Knight as well.
Yeah, Shovel Knight.
Well, you can't just riding our coattails there, Ash.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much.
You all three win. Congratulations.
Nice.
Thanks, Andre, for stealing my thunder.
Sorry, man.
No, it's like Tropical Freeze. I was just playing it again today, and like how great levels like the Sawmill Thrill were that took minecarting to the next generation, I'd say, and the momentum in that game. But in the end, I'd say I thought about Shovel Knight more as it went on, but I guess part of that is just how much I loved the NES era and how they treated Shovel Knight as if the NES era just kept continuing on. So they predicted with different chips that were put on the cartridges, a game like Shovel Knight could be made for the NES today if people kept developing for it. And just like Ash was saying, so much love was put into that game and making it and how well crafted it is. So yeah, that was definitely my favorite of the year. Not too many games these days. I feel like powering through them, sort of, but I'd say both Shovel Knight and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze were games of that ilk, but Shovel Knight just a bit better for me.
I'm in the same boat. Like I absolutely love Tropical Freeze as well. I'm definitely not trying to just kind of forget it or push it off to the side. But yeah, I mean, I love both. The Shovel Knight just kind of eked it out for me.
Yeah,
I played Shovel Knight as well, and it is really an excellent game. However, it's not in my top 3.
Whoa.
Going out of release order for the year, my top 3 is actually Kirby Triple Deluxe,
ooh,
Nice.
Bayonetta 2, and Kingdom Hearts 2.5 HD Remix.
So for me, I know you told me before you had trouble like choosing a top 3. For me, I feel like it's not even a question that Bayonetta 2 is your top favorite.
Okay.
whoa. I saw how excited Derek was about Kingdom Hearts at 1E3, so I'm gonna say Kingdom Hearts.
That's actually a good point. I'll have to rethink this.
I think he floated off the chair. Like he was suspended 10 feet in the air.
I haven't come down yet.
I'm still going to guess Bayonetta 2 though. That's my guess for your game of the year.
You are correct. It is Bayonetta 2.
Yep.
It was a as I was talking to Andre before, I had a hell of a time narrowing it down because no game to me really stood out as the peak this year. So I was left with a lot of games that were just some really great examples, but I was having trouble seeing something that stood out. Kirby stood out to me because it's probably one of the best Kirby games in years. The level design is so good. I had so much fun playing through that game. And this will be controversial to you, Andre. I think it's better than Superstar.
Yeah, that's definitely
Wow.
just wrong. But
It's not just controversial to him; it's also to me. That's shocking to me.
No, I think it's better than Superstar. I think it takes all the different elements that Superstar has and condenses into one for some really great level design and great bosses, great powers, and it just works on such a great level.
Hold on. All the elements. I think you're forgetting that Kirby Triple Deluxe is just one game, and Superstar is like 8 games.
No, we got Kirby Fighters, we got the Drum Dash. There's a couple games in there.
I'm surprised you even want to talk about Kirby Triple Deluxe anymore after watching that video of you doing the True Arena where you had to fight Solo Sectonia. I'm shocked that you even want to think about this game ever again.
It's tough, but it made it memorable because that was such a challenge, and you finally overcome it. But that's just one of the other games. Bayonetta 2, of course, is the game of the year for me, and I never played the original. I had no basis coming into there. It's a game I always wanted to try out, but I never got the chance to, and I still have yet to go back and play the original. So I went right into 2, and I have heard from a couple people that it's very samey if you have played the original, just obviously with a couple improvements here and there. But to come into it fresh and see the visuals, the combat, just everything, it just really clicked with me. And I don't know, it was the most fun experience I had this year. It was pure joy the entire time through, just seeing all the cheesy cutscenes and the lame humor, and it's just some really awesome boss fights that took place. And I don't know, it just hooked me the most. It really did impress me as I was playing through it. So I was like, it just stood out above, not by much, but still stood out above everything else I played this year.
I got a question for you, Derek.
Okay.
Did you go back and try to get the medals, or did you find yourself button mashing a lot, or did you actually learn and memorize combos for Bayonetta 2?
I was sort of half and half. Sometimes I would have specific combos that I would go through and use and everything else. Other times I would just button mash to see if I could get through. Because sometimes I could get through a boss with no problem, and I go back to it, and for some reason I'd have a lot of difficulty based on the setup I had at that time. Yeah. So it was very off and on. Like, it was really good to replay as well. Just, taking a look at all this stuff, looking for everything. There was a lot to the game. There was so much content in there, and it just stuck out for me.
Yeah, I'm about 5 hours into Bayonetta 2, and the gameplay is really polished, and I do love the little side challenges where it's like defeat all these enemies only in witch time sort of thing. So definitely it does seem like it has a lot of replayability and stuff. For me, it was just the story elements sometimes are a bit cheesy. I was like, just have gameplay. I don't need this. It's like Miyamoto cutting away the story from something. And sometimes the cutscenes where they're all kind of just not moving. Those seem a bit like a downer to me, like in the level of polish to the whole game.
Yeah, I took it as a stylistic choice. That is a very odd choice for them to just have like static CG imagery interacting with one another. Is like I never quite understood why they decided to do that, but it never really bothered me that much.
Budget reasons, probably. Keep it cheaper.
It could be. Yeah, it could be. But the gameplay itself was always just so fun to me that I didn't care.
Well, yeah, I have a friend who absolutely loves the game, but only when he skips all the cutscenes. Like, he cannot stand the story in that game, but he loves it still. And so he actually enjoys playing through it again more the second time, where you can absolutely just skip the cutscenes and not have to deal with them at all. So...
See, I don't know. If a game has a story, I'm not able to divorce the two from one another. Like, if I play a game and it has a story and I hate the story, then that's going to bring down the whole experience for me. I can't just skip cutscenes because then I feel like I'm missing out and I'm not getting the whole experience. So, I don't know. I can't divorce the two. I'm not able to do that and be like, well, I love the game, but I just skip all the cutscenes because for me, that's part of the game. So, at least the first time through. So, yeah, I don't know. If a game has a story, I consider that part of the whole experience. Now, that said, I haven't played more than the demo Bayonetta 2 just because I haven't had time for every game I want to play this year. So I love the demo, though. Like, it seems like I would adore the full game. So it's definitely on my list. But I just haven't gotten around to it, sadly.
Yeah, the story is whatever, but I never got upset about it or bored by it because it was always just having so much fun with itself. So I couldn't hate the story. I mean, it's completely inconsequential, but it's fun, and it's a popcorn flick, right? Essentially. So that's why the story never bothered me whatsoever.
Right.
Now the question I have for basically all of us: why did none of us give Mario Kart 8 or Super Smash Brothers for either 3DS or Wii U Game of the Year? None of us did it.
I mean,
I know.
So, I mean, for me, I guess, ultimately, like, if you want to boil it down in simplest terms, they're both games we've seen multiple times before. Mario Kart 8, it's the 8th installment in the series. I still liked it a lot. It's a lot of fun. But it also had some problems, too. I mean, it feels like each Mario Kart has its own, things it does really well and it has its issues. In this case, I have some issues with the ion balance. So it was really fun. I still play it, occasionally. The Smash Brothers Wii U, I also love that game. But, I've said before multiple times, it to me feels like the least changed game in the Smash Brothers series. That's partially because the game is, it's reaching a point of maturity. But as part of that, it also felt like the least new. And that definitely, ate into, it's, my overall, enjoyment. And keep in mind, this is relative to the best game of the year. I still love that game. But Tropical Freeze felt like such a fresh thing, but there were so many new ideas in there. They built upon the original in so many ways. That's why I took that over Smash Brothers.
I'm more of a Mario Kart guy, and I guess if Mario Kart 8 was the best in the series, in my opinion, I would have gone with it. But a lot of it that I enjoy is the old tracks and stuff. It's really good. It's really high up there out of all the Mario Karts for me, but it's sort of stuff we've seen before, building a lot on the 3DS version. Really good, just... I guess there's still something to be said for single-player experiences, even though they might not last as long as a multiplayer game.
Yeah, well, I was kind of surprised by you, Ash. I mean, I wasn't. But I think I said you chose Shovel Knight. But I mean, you were a huge Smash Brothers fan. You were super stoked the entire way.
Yeah, and I mean, Well, and it's like you said. I mean, it is relative to the game of the year discussion. Right. I mean, I've probably spent more gameplay hours with Smash Brothers for Wii U than any other game this year.
Right.
So, I mean, I love it. I adore it, and it's easily my favorite game in the series. And I mean, having Mega Man in there is still a dream come true every time I play the game. It's still amazing to me. But I think having both the 3DS and Wii U version released so close to one another, and having the 3DS version released first, and have them be so similar in terms of content, I think that kind of de-hyped me for the Wii U version just a bit. Mm-hmm. That didn't make the actual game itself any worse, of course. The game's still great, but I kind of divided the excitement between the 3DS and the Wii U version, and the 3DS one came first. So I think a lot of the newness and a lot of the hype wore off for me by the time the Wii U version came out. And as we both noted in both our reviews, Smash Wii U is amazing and it has so much content, but it's not necessarily perfect. It's got some problems, with regard to its single-player content, and some of the returning stages are a bit strange. So it's not perfect. Whereas Shovel Knight, obviously, no game is perfect, but it just blew me out of the water. I mean, it came out of nowhere. I mean, it's this small indie studio. It's their first title, and they did everything right. I mean, the level of polish in Shovel Knight is unbelievable, especially for, you take games today. I tried to play. I downloaded the Far Cry 4 demo and the Destiny and the Destiny demo on my PS4 last night. Far Cry 4 wouldn't even boot up because I had to have some sort of access code to even play the demo. And then Destiny took like an hour to install. And
that's a bad one. Yeah, you should have a sandwich.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and I'm just like, so many. I mean, look at what happened with Assassin's Creed. I mean, there's so many games that are releasing as like half-complete experiences these days. And, Nintendo's really good at not doing that. But Shovel Knight comes out of nowhere, and it is this amazing, perfectly polished package. And it, and actually, going back to discussion about story for a second, like in Bayonetta 2, that's something I didn't expect Shovel Knight to even wow me with. Was it had a really nice, poignant story.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, you don't have to sit in any long cutscenes, but it really makes you, it makes you feel warm at the end. It's like a really nice little story. And it's touching, and that's the last thing I expected Shovel Knight to do. I thought it'd be a really fun Mega Man clone, pretty much, but it's so much more than that. And I don't know, it's just in terms of sheer polish and just wow factor, it was Shovel Knight for me.
Yeah, it has it in spades.
Yeah, it really does.
I think nice one. Nice one.
I just now got it. Yeah, I just now got it.
Much better than Andres, who sort of forces it in there. Tom's much more subtle about this.
Yeah, he's like a pun ninja.
But Tom also hit the nail on the head in another way for me, and that's the single-player experience. I am much more of a single-player gamer. Like Ash, I'm also much more invested in a story or something like that. Mario Kart 8 is fun to play with friends, but I never had too much of a reason to go back to it outside of racing with fans or you guys or anything like that. There was nothing there in the single-player content that really brought me back. Even with the DLC, as much as I love it, as much fun as I have with it, it's still a limited experience for me. Mm-hmm. And the same goes with Smash, which I usually have a lot of fun with going through the single-player and unlocking all the trophies and all that stuff, but I think I hit this sort of wall where I was just like, it felt like a grind almost. I'm still having a ton of fun with it, but it's a grind compared to these other single-player experiences that I had with Kirby, Kingdom Hearts, Bayonetta. I mean, even Shovel Knight's excellent. Donkey Kong, of course, is excellent. Shantae and the Pirate's Curse, another excellent game that came out this year. So many great single-player experiences, and because of that, I think it edges out Smash Brothers for me. I'd much rather have that personal experience with me and the game, it telling me a story, me mastering its gameplay, seeing what it has to offer, and just going from there. With Smash, once again, it comes down to the whole random factor that we've discussed time and time again, where you don't really know what you're going to get, and you have to keep grinding to get everything in the game. And that it sort of wears you down, and with what we do, I don't really have the time to just grind through that stuff. I'd much rather experience a nice, complete story, or in Kingdom Hearts' case, go back to a story that I love with a ton of new content, which is why it made my list. Because I knew the final mix version of Kingdom Hearts 2 added a lot more than the one for the original Kingdom Hearts. I didn't realize just how much. There is so much more content in that game, and it hit all the right points for me, and that's pretty much why Mario Kart 8 and Smash Wii U did not make the list. It's just it's because I'm a single player gamer.
So you're saying if Smash Bros. Wii U had Subspace Emissary, it would have been your game of the year?
Sounds about right. I miss that mode.
Although I will say, I do wish mission mode would come back from Mario Kart. If Mario Kart 8 had the mission mode from Mario Kart DS, I think it would be so much more complete a package.
I mean, that is entirely true, but I'm actually amazed that Nintendo hasn't evolved the formula much at all. Like, why haven't they done what Diddy Kong Racing did 15
Where are the
years
bosses?
ago?
Oh my god.
Where are the bosses?
Yeah.
Yeah, where is my adventure mode? Like, it's something Mario does. That is what he does in every game, except for Mario Kart for some reason. Why does he not have... Why is there no adventure mode?
Naughty Dog figured this out right away with Crash Team Racing. There was a story mode through that game that I had a lot of fun going through. It invested me, and it taught me the courses. It makes so much sense for a Mario Kart title.
Because, Naughty Dog realized that Nintendo had a good idea that Nintendo somehow forgot about. Like, I don't get it.
No, that would be really nice to see, especially because I've been actually replaying Diddy Kong Racing recently with a friend, and it's really it surprises me that they haven't done that again with Mario Kart, and because the adventure mode was really so fun and really it's even engaging even today.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. As for me, in terms of Mario Kart not making my top 3, it would probably have made my top 5, but kind of like you, Andre, the item balance needs a little work in my opinion. And also, like you, Derek, I mean, I am more of a single-player gamer. I enjoy playing Mario Kart a lot, especially because I'm so competitive in it. You know, let us not forget that I did win the PAX Prime tournament.
I am
Who was
just
second in
silent.
that? Who was second?
I can't remember who was second. I think it was someone in this discussion, right?
Yeah, Andre, who was it? I can't remember.
I'm refraining from participating in this portion.
But no, Mario Kart 8 was great, and it still is. But the item balance does need work, in my opinion, and the single player content really does feel the most pared down and basic, almost in the whole series, or at least in the modern half of the series, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
There's a single player?
Yeah. And also bringing up Kingdom Hearts for a second, Derek, I actually probably should have asked before we started this if HD remasters counted, because if they did, I probably would have at least considered putting Final Fantasy X and X-2 HD in there, because I spent a lot of time with both those games this year, and I thought they were really well remastered, and it was nice having the international content for the first time outside of Japan.
Mm-hmm. I struggled with putting essentially a remake or a remaster in my top 3 because of that reason. But overall, it was like, because of the amount of new content there, like if it was like a straight up port of two and Birth by Sleep, as much as I love those games, I don't feel I would put it in there. But because this is the first time Americans have gotten this content, and because there is so much of that content, that's why I decided ultimately it deserved to be in my top 3, because this was stuff I've never experienced before, and it's kind of made the whole like Kingdom Hearts 2 experience completely new. And I'm really loving seeing all these changes that they've brought in. Now, Ash, if you still want to put your Final Fantasy X-2 HD remaster on your top lists, you have next year for the PS4 version.
That's true, but I do still think I'm still comfortable with Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy Curtain Call taking that slot, just because it was probably the 3DS game I spent the most time with this year. So far. I mean, maybe Pokemon might give it a run for its money, as we close out the year, but the fact that Theater Rhythm Curtain Call had over 200 songs on one 3DS cart without any noticeable, audio quality loss. Just, I mean, the amount of content in that game blows my mind every time I think about it. And it really is the definitive rhythm game for Final Fantasy fans. And I had so much fun with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I played a little bit of it that I got to, and it really is an excellent package. And it's actually very heartening to me that they've already announced that Theater Rhythm series is continuing, except with Dragon Quest this time, which does give the hope that eventually we'll have Theater Rhythm Kingdom Hearts, Theater Rhythm Chrono Trigger, and so on.
I'm pretty sure Theater Rhythm Chrono Trigger is already going to be my game of the year in whatever year it comes out in. So, I mean, that's kind of how I felt about, like, it's a good thing that Capcom doesn't release Okami HD every year, because if they did, that would be my game of the year every year too. Like, there are certain games I just know that I'm going to just love to death,
Yeah. Maybe in the later Okamis, they can have the GX Our GameXplain watermark on the box art.
That's true.
That's my ultimate aspiration for that to happen.
That would be amazing.
Alright, so that's our game of the year, guys, or our games of the year, I should say. Apparently Shovel Knight is the majority winner, followed by Tropical Freeze, if only because that's mine, and then Bayonetta 2.
Bias.
Thanks for watching. Of course, keep an eye on GameXplain.com for perhaps future Game of the Year discussions and other things gaming as well. Alright, thanks guys. Bye.